Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Lainey Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Welcome, everyone, to another podcast episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am your host, Lainey Cavazos, and I am so excited to have Cory here with me today. And he is the founder of Conscious Counsel, and he works with retreat leaders, coaches, and wellness founders to make sure the business behind their work is fully protected. They help with everything from agreements, waivers, to policy and compliance, and translating legal into something clear and actually usable. And their goal is to give founders peace of mind so they can focus on creating powerful transformational experience. Cory, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for our conversation.
Yes, me too. So tell me a little bit about, we're going to start this very, very hot. So what are the top three things that you think retreat leaders need to consider when it comes to legalities for their business that most of the times they do not?
The first thing that you have to think about is the retreat participant agreement. So this is the agreement that you have with the people coming on your retreat, your participants. It's really important to have a clear breakdown of deposit, non-refundability, what's included, what's not included, behavioral expectations, and anything for all sorts of contingencies or things that can happen. As we know, it's a crazy world. And I have some very interesting stories about some of my clients in retreat experiences that they've ran. So that's the first. The second would be the waiver of liability to protect yourself from getting sued. So this is a really, really important document where a lot of retreat organizers fall short because they use something templated or generic, and it's not specific to the activities that you actually host and that you organize. And then the third agreement would be basically protecting everything that you do online, whether it's the collection of personal information, whether it's processing payments, whether it's using images or video of participants that are on your retreats. It's really, really common in the retreat space to use media to sell. So you run an event, it looks really awesome, and then you use that to sell future events. But a lot of the times I see, and problems I've had to solve for clients are retreat organizers doing all of that stuff without the proper legal paperwork in place. So off the top of my head, those are the three things that come to mind.
Oh, I love that. I think that is so important. I am thinking, I've been running events for over 20 years, and I know photography waiver is so important, but most people don't pay attention. And then they're just oh, I could just use the pictures because I paid for the photographer.
That's one story that people will say. And look, at the end of the day, the point of this conversation is I want to give insight to people about the sort of issues that I have to deal with, because I appreciate this. If you're a retreat organizer and you want to create an amazing experience and provide transformation for people in their lives and create something memorable and have a platform for transformation, you're not thinking about the law, and you probably didn't go to law school, and so you don't know about these issues that come up. For me, it's interesting because my profession is helping prevent and strategize when these issues do come into play. So it makes perfect sense that people don't think about these things and don't have the documents in place. And hopefully the point of our conversation is that we can shed some light on some of the issues and problems that retreat organizers face.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about, the good things about being protected from a legal perspective and standpoint, because not everything should be about the horror stories that happen in this space.
Yeah, it's not about horror stories. It's what I always want from my clients. I want them to be in control of the situation. And the best way to be in control of the situation is to have legal agreements that are drafted towards industry-specific issues and that have you protected. So let's focus on the positives. I'm with you. What are the benefits of using customized industry-specific legal agreements? The first is the communication of expectations, right? And this is it will make your life so much easier as a retreat organizer when you have agreements that clearly outlines all of the things for the retreat. This is when you're coming. This is what happens if we have to change the event. This is how you're expected to behave. If you do certain things, we're allowed to ask you to leave without giving you a refund. All of those sorts of things. So the first thing always is communicating expectations openly and honestly. And secondly, it's like, if there's a problem, you want to be in control of the situation. And what I see when clients use templates or they use ChatGPT for documents that they don't really understand, and then a problem comes up and they need to resolve that problem, they're not in control of the situation. And that's like, it makes me feel sick because it's so easy to prevent it. So the main benefit of the legal agreements is that okay, something happens because things happen and it's life. Are you in control of the situation? And secondly, by using the legal documents, have you communicated your expectations openly and honestly so that before someone signs on to participate, they understand exactly what they're getting into?
I think this is great. And I mean, so when we're thinking about all these things, right? Like we have the waivers and the agreements and the contracts. What do you see now then? So this is, let's say, this right now we were speaking more about like the agreements that you have with like the person coming to the retreat. But is there any suggestions that you would give to like, like what about vendors?
Yeah, okay, so with vendors, and the thing that you want to be mindful of always as a retreat organizer, and I know that you're all about profitability, so let's focus in on that. That's the name of the game. You want to be really, really clear to have your legal documents reflect the timing of the relationship that you have with the vendors and the relationship that you have with the participants. Because usually the biggest expense is going to be putting a deposit down on a venue, and it's going to be tiered or timed so that 60 days out, you have to pay this. In order to secure the space, you have to get this, all those sorts of things. The clients who I've seen succeed and be profitable are ones who make sure that the agreements that they have with the vendors, and like one side note I'll say is that you're always allowed to negotiate. I think that this is something that retreat organizers don't really grasp, the point that it's like, okay, a vendor gives you a contract, you're allowed to negotiate, you're allowed to hire a lawyer to help you negotiate. And ultimately, you should never sign on to a deal that is going to put you or your profitability at risk. So if something's a little bit off, or you think it's, and like taking a risk is being an entrepreneur, but you want to do so intelligently. So one thing that I see with the vendors is, one is just the timing of everything and making sure the timing of the payments to the vendor reflect the timing of the payments that you're going to get from participants. And also, I think flexibility is something that's not spoken enough in the space in terms of when you're negotiating as well. If you have to cancel, if you have to change. I had a situation with a client recently who ran an event, a retreat, sold out retreat, 25 participants in Mexico. And this was when things were happening with the cartels. And it was like literally like the retreat was supposed to start 2 days after those changes took place. And so then it was like talking about vendors. They booked a sunset cruise, they booked the venue, they booked a driver, they had all of these sunk costs that they put out. And the piece that we needed to have was a contingency plan to say, in the event of some sort of emergency, we can move these dates, we can change the dates, you'll work with us, you'll be reasonable. So those are the things that sort of just come top to mind in terms of vendor relationships.
I think this is, you're saying something that is very important, because for me, because of my like background in events and the corporate world and whatnot, negotiating a contract is like normal. Like, I don't even question it. I negotiate every single time. And it's not just about negotiating the price, it's about the terms and the conditions and when do I pay. And I think you said something that is very smart. It's like, okay, you cannot be like, if everyone is going to end up paying their retreat 3 months in advance, you cannot be paying your venue 5 months in advance, because then where is the money coming from? So your calendar, right, your payment calendars, like for your clients, needs to match your payment calendars for your vendors.
Exactly.
And I really don't think a lot of people even consider that as a thing.
That single point will be the difference between being overly stressed about running your event and not sleeping at night and wondering if people are going to sign up and how you're going to get the money and a credit that you have to take out from the bank, versus just like being intelligent and organized and making sure that everything's in its right place.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think these are the little things that we don't pay that much attention to when it comes to the legalities of being an entrepreneur. And sometimes if you're an entrepreneur and you've never worked for another company, you don't know that you should get 3 different quotes. So there's all these little things that are just good practices for business, and because we just get overly excited and we find a venue that we love, we're like, this has to be the one. And sometimes that actually is not the best thing for you, even though it would look pretty on pictures.
Yeah, this is why everyone listens to your podcast, and I know it's the #1 rated show, and I think that's why, because we have to talk about these things. And I think that a lot of what I see with my clients, a lot who are running retreats, especially for the first time, they're excited. They've been on a retreat before. They love it. They love the idea. They love, sort of in some ways the status and the ability to be a leader for a community. And those are all the things they're going after. And, okay, maybe I won't negotiate with the venue, or I won't get appropriate legal documents or any of those things. But that's why we're talking from our experiences of lots of people who we've helped, to let people know, like, hey, you're also a business owner, you're also an entrepreneur, and we want to see you doing things correctly so that you can be profitable.
Well, Cory, thank you so much for being here today. And how can people find you if they want to talk to you and see how you could help them?
The best way to reach out to us is on Instagram. Our handle is @Conscious Counsel. So just reach out, say hi, let us know that you heard us on the podcast. And I'm excited to chat and support everybody.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And for everyone who's listening, if you feel this episode is going to help someone that you know, please share it with them. And I'll see you all next week.